Hello friend, in this video I want to show you that how do I do the registration of a product using Serializer. Well, in many interview the interviewer would ask you this question that what is a serializer, or why do I need a serializer, or under what circumstances serializer would play an effective role. So all these questions you will get to know right from this video. So in my last video I showed you that if I don't have a serializer, in that case I have to write this much piece of code snippet for inserting a product. But now if I use a serializer, it reduced down drastically, and this is the code that will be responsible for inserting a product using serializer. Well, I have to create a new product route over here, and by give the name as register product underscore serializer, that would give me a call to this particular method. So here also I'm taking the input from the user through Postman, like what I was doing before. So the request that comes, incoming request in the form of HTTP, that is coming, getting stored over here. That is perfectly fine. Well, what I'm doing over here is I'm giving a call to the serializer. So I have created a new class called ProductSerializer, who is going to pass the data, that is a request.data. See, remember, in case of non-serializer, over here you were writing request.data, and then you're writing a get method to get the data from the JSON that is coming. So you are adding one extra function that is called get function, which is getting the data from this response, right? But in this case, what you're doing is that you're simply passing the request data directly to the serializer. So let's go and check out what is there in the serializer. Well, serializer is inheriting from a base class that is called model serializer, present inside the Django REST framework. So here from it is coming, right? So that means this is actually the base class, and this is a derived class. So the derived class is inheriting the model serializer. Well, again, coming back to the question that why do I need a serializer? What is the main purpose of serializer? Well, you need to understand that you're working on REST framework. So when you're working on REST framework, your data would be in the form of a JSON, as you are seeing right over here. I'm sending the data through Postman, that is in the form of JSON. Had this not been a REST framework, if this was a web application, the data would have been coming from the HTML form tag, right? A simple form, a method would be called over there, and through the form the data would have gone. So that was not in the form of JSON. So I need someone who can convert the incoming JSON data into Python dictionary, because over here you see these are the keys and these are the values. So serializer will be responsible for converting your incoming JSON to Python dictionary so that it can be relate with the model. That means after receiving the data in the form of dictionary, it has to convert it in such a format that this record can be inserted inside the model as a tuple. So that is also responsibility of serializer. So basically serializer will be working in two different ways. Firstly, it will receive the incoming data that is coming in the form of JSON, and then it will convert that into a Python dictionary, and that dictionary will be responsible for saving data into a model instance, because ultimately at the end of the day you are going to save the data inside the model, right? The model is the product, therefore I have to save it. So that's the reason why you are inheriting from the model serializer. And then what you are doing over here, I created one more attribute called the user. The reason why I did that is I have to take the, like in my model, if you remember, user is actually a foreign key, right? User is a foreign key because I have a base table called user. So when I'm sending this data right over here, this admin, actually in my table the data is not getting saved as admin, it is getting saved at the ID of the primary key. The ID of primary key, that is the inside the auth table, I created the user, which I've shown you even before also. Let me show you that there is a user that exists, is called admin. So that user has an ID 1, and that ID 1 is getting stored over here in the form of foreign key. So remember this one, okay? So when you are working on the product table, you are storing the user ID, which is actually 1. But the time when you are giving the input, you are not giving 1 over here, you are giving the user name directly. So there has to be someone who has to understand that this username is actually related with this ID. So for this ID. So for that reason I need to do a special operation over here, and that's what the serializer has to take care about. So serializer is creating one extra field over here called user. Okay, this is something which you need to understand a lot. Now in this, inside the serializer, you have an inner class, and here you're writing the name of the model with whom you're targeting. I mean to say that where exactly the data will be stored. So this is the model that is called product, and the model has got the following attribute, which you can see right over here: ID, name, or you can see even from the model file also. Let me show you that over here. These are the fields that are there. Okay, and ID actually gets generated automatically. Rest of the fields are all there. So in the Postman, I'm sending name, description, price, brand, category, stock, and what I'm sending the username. These are the things that will be there. But an accurate table is getting auto generated. But the fact goes is that in my product table, I'm going to store the product user ID in the form of a foreign key. So how do I map this one? And that is something what you need to understand. Well, apart from this, you also have like you can write function over here to perform validation. The beautiful thing about this serializer is you just need to write the validate keyword, and along with that you need to write the attribute name followed by underscore. So suppose if I want to go for validation of description, I would have written that validate underscore description, or validate underscore price, or validate underscore brand. So that's how it will be called. You don't have to call this function. Django REST Framework will be calling this function while doing the validation evaluation to check whether the thing is correct or not. Let me show you how it is working. So if I come over here, suppose I want to add one product by the name, whatever product name it is. Now it is just two-letter word. You cannot have a product name by two-letter word, right? So if I try to save this, immediately it will give this particular validation error will come up. Let me show you that. As I click on this, now you're saying name must be at least 3 characters long, so you cannot come up with just 2. So here you are saying that means when you're trying to when Django will try to insert the record inside the model, prior that it will do this validation. It will go and check what validation function you have written over here, and in this regard I have written the function called name, and the number of character for name is less than 3. If it is so, then the validation issue will come. In that case, this particular issue will be forwarded back to the function, and since there is a failure in the if condition, hence the response will come right over here, and this is serializer.error. The serializer error is actually coming from this particular place, okay, because is validated didn't work true, validation failed actually. So for that reason, this error message will be shown with the status of 400, and that's what you can see over here. The status of 400 has been shown. Okay, in this way you can add as many number of validation function you want. That there's no problem with that. Okay, now let's consider you have given like a proper word. Suppose I'm saying that I want to save over here like what do you call it, like a smart TV I want to save, and that means validation is perfectly fine. Now what happens? So in that case, here you are sending the data to the product serializer. Serializer will convert the JSON into Python dictionary, and after converting it will forward the data to the serializer. And before that it will also check the validation statement. It will also check that one as well, and now it has been forwarded over here to see whether the validation is all successful or not. If the validation is perfectly correct, it will return true. If there is a failure, then it will return false. So if the true is returned, then you are inside the if condition, and now you're going to perform the record to be saved. But please wait over here. This is something which is very important. I said that the data in the serializer is in the form of a dictionary, and before it gets saved over here, the dictionary needs to be converted into a model form so that it can be added to the pgadmin or PostgreSQL. But before that, you have to bring a very important thing in mind, and that is the save function will automatically give a call to the create function. And what is this create function all about? See, I want to, as I said, that in the Postman I'm giving the username as 1, but in the model table it's not about 1, it's actually the ID, which is, I mean, here I'm giving username as admin, but in the model it actually, in the product table, if it is written as foreign key, so it will be holding the data in the form of 1, that is the admin value, which we saw right over here. Let me show you once again. So this is the value of the admin. So this is what is actually going to be saved, but I am not giving this 1, I'm rather giving this admin. So how do I get this, how my system will get this 1, and then it can store right over here, as you can see. So for that reason, the create function will play an important role. Let me explain how the create function is working. The first thing that it will do is that inside this validate data, that means the save function, before it saves the tuple, automatically it will give a call to this create function. Inside the create function, it is receiving an argument that is called validate data. What is this validate data is all about? It contains the entire object. this object is right over here. Now what the first thing it will do is that it will remove this particular key from the validate data, and for that reason it is called pop. So there is a field called user that will be removed. Okay, so this particular entire statement, this particular key and the value will get stored inside the user data. So that means you would be having somewhat like this after the execution of this pop function. Your user field won't be there inside the object anymore, rather it will be there inside user data. So inside user data you have got the user key with the value what you have given. Now we are checking that there is an attribute inside this field that is user. The answer is true because you have successfully removed that. If this is true, now you come to the try block, and what the try block is going to do, the try block is supposed to check, because remember you gave the admin as a username over here, so it is connecting to the user table dot object dot get, that's a warm function, to retrieve a tuple from a table. So and the actual field name is called username. That what we can see over here. Also we have got the username. See, this is the username. Let me show you that password username is over here. So that's what it is retrieving. So and while retrieving it is checking that the input which I have given is called admin. So the username what there in the table and the input what I have given is admin, if it match, that the entire tuple will be picked up. That tuple will be picked up and it will be stored inside this variable. So of course in this case it will get matched and the data will come over here. In that case, validation error will not take place because the username is actually valid. Okay, and then what I am doing is that now inside this, what I have got inside this, I have got the entire record, right, and where I also have got the ID, and now I'm creating again a new column. Remember you previously I removed this one, so here I'm recreating the same column that is called user, and therefore I'm adding that particular record, the ID that is getting added right over here inside the user. So inside the user I'm going to store the foreign key, so the data that has been recovered from this particular search query, that particular primary key has been written over here, right? And now you have to send back the data. So over here I'm giving a call to super. The super is giving a call to the base class, that is the model initializer, so that it creates the object. It creates the object and that object should be saved inside the table. So this particular line is very important as it gives a call to the base class which actually creates the object, and that object has been forwarded over here, and that is what getting saved inside the table. So this portion is very important in handling the foreign key part. Okay, so finally you inserted the new record in the table after in the particular dictionary, and then you saved it, and after saving it you forwarded it back to the view, and here the save function is now getting executed and the product has been saved over here. You can print it or find it will show you the username over here. So if I fire the record now once again, and if I click on this, let me save it over here. As I do that, the record get added successfully. So let's come to my table, let's do the reload part over here, and as I do that, now you see the ID is 1 getting saved. And not only that, inside my console you will also find that the username admin has been shown, which I was printing right from here, that I was printing over here the name of the user who is saving the data. And finally this response has been forwarded back to the Postman through the help of response that is coming from the REST framework, DRF, and that is what you are seeing over here, that the product name got saved. So finally, with the help of Serializer, we are able to convert the JSON, which is incoming data, into Python dictionary, and then that Python dictionary will convert the data in the form of a tuple. But before that, you have to do some kind of manipulation if there is a foreign key involved, and after the manipulation is done, your dictionary will be further converted in such a form so that the data can be saved inside the model as a form of a tuple. And this whole process is actually done by Serializer. So next time someone asks you in an interview about Serializer, this entire thing you have to remember and you have to put forward. Okay, I believe this concept is clear now, and like this many more concepts are going to come in the coming days. So stay tuned with my channel and see you soon. Bye bye.